and what a great day to sew something wonderful. I'm Kia with Kia Bee, and today we're going to be working on a little project out of a new pre-cut that a Fat Quarter Shop has come out with. It is called a Jolly Bar. This is the pattern book for the Jolly Bar. The nice thing about this is this is the exact same size as an actual Jolly Bar. A Jolly Bar comes of a designer's fabric line, just like any other pre-cuts. A package of about 40 to 42 5 by 10 inch rectangles. These are really nice. The book that we're going to be working out of today is called the Jolly Bar Book Volume 1. This is a It's So Emma pattern, and so it has just several different quilts in it and quilt tops. I've had the pleasure of working with this book for a few months and I absolutely love it, and so we're going to take a look into this. So let's go ahead and dive into our tutorial and take it one stitch at a time. Materials you'll need for this project are one charm pack. We've chosen this beautiful yellow Bella Solid from Moda. And then you'll need one layer cake. I love this Sun Drops by Corey Yoder. It's absolutely beautiful. This is actually a Fat Quarter Shop exclusive, so you can find it on their website that we'll link down below. This is a newer pre-cut. This is called Jolly Bar. So it's a 10 inch by 5 inch pre-cut pack of fabric. And I'm excited to get this open and look through this. You'll also need the Fat Quarter Shop's Jolly Bar book. This is a pattern book exclusively also to Fat Quarter Shop. It's So Emma patterns. It's absolutely beautiful. Got tons of ideas in it, and so we'll be working from a pattern in this book. Then you'll need your standard rotary cutter, a larger pair of scissors, some smaller fabric scissors. And this project we'll be using a heat disappearing pen. I like this Pilot friction pen because we'll be drawing straight on our fabric. And then you'll need a ruler and a cutting mat as well. So let's take a closer look into the pattern and see how this is going to get laid out. Let's take a closer look inside this adorable little pattern book called the Jolly Bar book. This is volume 1. And we're going to, as you can see, there's several quilts that you can make out of this, even a table runner. Adorable stuff that just uses the newer pre-cut of a Jolly Bar. So we're actually going to flip over and I'm going to use the Razzle Dazzle quilt. So for this project, like I've already said, you need one Jolly Bar and one solid charm pack. I'm excited to get these open. You actually won't be making any cuts to the fabric for quite some time. We're going to draw on some of our charm squares first, and then we're going to do a little sewing, and so we're actually going to wait to cut any fabric just yet. So let me get this open here. I'm so excited. This has been in my stash for quite some time, and I've really wanted to open it, and I just couldn't decide what to use it for, and so I'm excited to finally have a use for it. So this is Sun Drops by Corey Yoder for Moda. It's absolutely beautiful. I'll just fan through here. Got some darker prints, some grays and yellows, which I think will just look really, really nice. So we've got that, and then we'll get our Moda Bella Solids open here. I've just picked a coordinating yellow. It looks really nice with it. Alright, so our first direction is to draw a diagonal line on the wrong side of Fabric Bee squares. Well, it's kind of hard on solids to know what the wrong and right sides are, so I'm going to actually flip the stack over and I'm going to draw lines on that. We do need 40 of them, and there are 42 in this pack, so I know I can take out 2. And let me set all these other things aside here. So what we'll do now is take our 5 inch squares and we just turn diagonally here, and we're going to draw a line with our friction pen from corner to corner, and this is actually going to be our sew line. So I'll take my friction pen and just start drawing. You'll want to do this to all 40 squares. Make sure you can definitely see that line, because like I said, that's going to be our sew line for when we head over to the sewing machine. So do that to all 40 squares. Okay, so we have all of our lines drawn on our Charm Pack squares. Now we're going to pull over our Jolly Bar. We're going to take one strip at a time. I'm going to line up my diagonal line that I've drawn with my my Jolly Bar strip. So it's going to go from the bottom left to the middle. We're going to sew on that line. I'm going to go one step further, and this is just for my convenience later on in another project. I'm going to turn and go about 1/2 inch and sew another seam, because watch what happens if I just pin this here. Watch what happens when I finally cut this away. If I cut right down the middle of those 2 stitch lines, I instantly get a 1/2 square triangle. So I can use those in another project. That's pure convenience. That's not for this project. But since I'm already going to be at the sewing machine, I'm going to take that extra few minutes and do that. So you're going to line up bottom corner to the middle, sew directly on that line. Then you're going to flip your Jolly Bar strip around, and you're going to be doing the exact same on the other side. Okay, so let me show you again. You've got it on this side, you're going to sew like this. Then you're going to do it on this side as well, the same direction. Okay, so your line should be going parallel like this. What's going to happen is when we sew that, it's going to make a nice angle like that. That's what our block should look like after we've sewn it. You're going to make 20 of these units. I'm going to head over to the sewing machine and start sewing these. At this point, your block should look something similar to this. And so we've got both sides sewn here. And like I said earlier, I did this extra seam just for convenience for later on down the road. So what we're going to do, we are actually going to trim in between these two. If you don't have this second seam line, that's okay. Just trim 1/4 inch away from your initial seam. So I'm just going to go down the middle here and take this off, and the same on this side. You're left with something that looks like this. So now what's going to happen is I'm going to press these open, and when I do, here's our block. Okay, here's what we're left over with. Because I went ahead and did that extra seam, we've just got this awesome, like, ready to go 1/2 square triangle, which is super nice. I would just press that open and square it up for a project later down the road. So let me show you that one more time. Here's your block, okay? And because this is on the bias, that's why you're seeing those waves. We need to be super careful, because being on the bias, that means that it stretches and pulls really, really simply. So we just need to be cautious of that. I'm gonna go about 1/4 inch away from our seam. Okay, there's one, and there's one. Here's what you're left with, kind of a shape like this. So now we're going to press our seams open. We'll set our seams first, then we'll press them open, and our block should measure about 5 by 10. So your block should look something like this. I've got 2 here, and you've got them pressed open really nicely. And so our next step in this project, as we look at our pattern, is to assemble rows. So you'll take a full Jolly Bar strip. That's your fabric A, so we'll put that at the beginning. Then we'll place one of our sewn units, and you'll alternate. So then you'll have another Jolly Bar and then one more sewn unit at the very end. So you'll sew these together in a row, so that makes our row, and you'll do it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and then you'll press those open. So I've actually already got most of mine sewn together. This is what it should look like. I haven't pressed anything yet, but this is what your strip should look like. And what's going to happen is we're going to press these open, and then as we put our top together, they're actually going to alternate. So as you can see on the diagram here in the pattern, our first row will start with a Jolly Bar strip. Our second row will start with a sewn unit, and we'll just alternate back and forth, pressing our seams open when we're completely finished. So I'm going to get all of my seams pressed open here on my strips, and I'll meet you right back here. I've got all of my seams pressed open and they look really nice. Especially on these intersecting seams right here, that gets to be pretty bulky, and so I find with opening my seams, it evens out the bulk just a little bit better. So now, like I said, my whole strip won't fit in the shot, but I'll show you these first two. So you're gonna get a strip, and then you'll take a second strip and you will alternate the beginning. So if this is a pieced block and this is a whole strip, then you're going to want to take, let me get a block here that's a different color, and alternate the next row. So actually, let's see, this one would go first. So we've got a strip, then a pieced block, then you're gonna put this one next. So then you've got the pieced block, then the strip, and you're just gonna continue to do that with all of your rows. Here's the thing that I would suggest, and I don't do this very often, but because we have all of these intersecting seams, you don't want to lose these points. So you want to make sure you stay at a 1/4 inch seam, and you can measure that on your machine, or some machines like Opal has a setting for a 1/4 inch seam, and I have a foot for it as well. So just check your machine's guide and see what it has. The second thing is, because of all these intersecting seams, I would go ahead and pin. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to grab my pins over here. I'm going to flip my blocks on top of each other, my strips, okay? And grab my pins. And I'm going to take these two open seams and put them together. Now, if you have not opened your seams, you'll have one going one way and one going the other way. You'll nest those together, but since I've opened them, I'm going to put a pin straight through the seam of one side. I'm gonna line them up, make sure that they're lined up well, okay? Put a pin straight through the seam on one side, and hopefully come out through a seam on the other side, kind of in between a stitch. And it can take a couple of pokes to get there, as you can tell from mine. There we go. And then you'll go straight through your seam back there to come through a seam up here. And see, I'm a little off. I'm trying to do this so you can see, so I'm a little bit backwards here. Well, get out of there. There we go. Okay. So then I've got that pin. I'll do that at all of my intersections here. So there should be 3 per strip that I pin. Okay, you can pin at the very end and at the very beginning if that makes you feel better. But this way your blocks stay nice and straight. So I'll head over to the sewing machine and I'll just start sewing a 1/4 inch all the way down. What I will do is I will chain piece them in strips, so 2 at a time. Then I'll just continue to lay out my top. So I'll do 2 at a time, then I'll take 2 and 2 and sew those together, which makes 4. So I'll do 2 sets of those, which is 8, and then add 2 more onto the end, which is our 10 rows. So I will show you what our quilt top should look like when I'm all the way finished with that. Okay, here is our quilt top. I am absolutely loving it, and I love the simplicity of this. The size is great. You're going to end up about 38.5 by 45.5, which is right in the middle of a baby crib quilt. And so this will make a really nice baby shower gift when I am all the way finished. So at this point, you're ready for batting and backing, and then you're binding. Thank you so much for stitching with us today at Kia Bee. For more of our tutorials, make sure you click the subscribe button down below and click like if you would like to see more tutorials like this one that are easy, or even more out of this book. If you haven't picked it up yet, it's from Fat Quarter Shop. It retails for $9.95, and it is such a great quality book. There are several different patterns in it. It's really worth the buy. I hope you all have a great week, and we will see you next time.